Feel good? Ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're here with Karenna Love.
Mm-hmm.
And third episode of Live with Greg. And so I understand that veganism is an important aspect to your life.
It's extremely important, actually.
And why is it so important?
Well, I guess it's also kind of started, I was a meat eater and grew up eating meat. My father was actually a hunter, and so he brought deer home and all kinds of stuff from the Everglades. And I never had that epiphany, and so I read this book called Diet for a New America, and when I read it, I was like, oh my God, it's like just something went off, and I realized what they were doing to the animals, and it talked about the environment, and this is probably 25 years ago that I became a vegetarian. And I got really depressed from it, actually, and about the pigs being in the crates and stuff, and so I had to start seeing a psychologist, and she suggested that I get proactive. And so that was really the solution for me then. Yeah. So it's important because of it's actually very barbaric the way animals are treated these days.
One aspect for me, as currently a meat eater, and I was a vegan at one point in my life, yes.
Great.
Okay, I have this short story.
Great, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. I was invited to go salmon fishing with a friend when I worked at the radio stations, and I caught a salmon, and part of that process was cleaning it, and when I cut it open, it had all these eaten sardines in it, and it was a very real experience for me of the circle of life. It had eaten these sardines, and I was going to eat it, and I felt very much a part of life in the process.
So then you went off veganism because of that?
No, I went off veganism when Robin was born.
Oh, I see.
And she had a pepperoni pizza, and I was like, that's it.
That's funny. Yeah.
But I didn't have a spiritual or deep experience for my choice of veganism.
Yes.
Where it sounds like for you, there was a far more personal resonance.
Yeah. And what made you become vegan?
I think Liz.
Liz was,
yeah.
That's his wife.
Yeah, I loved her. Still do. So,
that's very sweet.
Well, are really spineless.
Yeah. So then she kind of fell off when she had children and stuff.
Actually, she doesn't eat meat very hard. In fact, I'd say the last time she ate any meat was probably a couple years ago.
Great.
A few years ago, yeah.
That's great. Good. And then so the salmon, you felt like, and it didn't hit you that the salmon, you took its life and the other life that was in it and stuff.
It did hit me.
But it hit you in a different way. I understand that process. I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. I think for everybody it's different, and I think the thing with vegans, when you first learn about all the atrocity, that sometimes they can be, how do you say, not so kind and trying to push it on people. And I have to say I was like that, but I've come sort of full circle realizing that that's not how it works, and you have to be more compassionate about the whole process with people, and that's the way to make change.
Can that compassion, are you able to do that with the people who, what you and I could easily say are atrocities to animals? You know, when you talk about them being in crates, etc. You know, that's have you found that it's possible to have compassion for people who are acting in such manners?
That are eating meat, you mean?
No, that are abusing animals in such
Well, you know,
horrific.
I have a lot of vegans on Facebook, so I get little tidbits here and there about their thoughts on things. And there's one that really abhors people that work in slaughterhouses. They have no pity for them. And I was just at a protest at the Rancho Veal processing slaughterhouse up in Petaluma, and I don't know if you heard about that recall in Marin here. Did you hear? Oh, you didn't hear that. It was let me look at my notes. 8.7 million pounds of beef recalled, grass-fed beef from like Neiman Ranch, and the cows had eye cancer, and so they were closed down because of it. And so just the waste generated from that amount of food could have fed cities like New York, Tokyo, and London, that amount of meat. And so just the environmental impact that we are doing to this world eating meat is horrendous. It was, I think I might be changing subjects, but there was a report by Livestock Long Shadow from the United Nations, I think it was 2006, that talked about the detriment of eating meat to the planet and how it's only going to get worse if we don't do something. And so that hit me, and the pollution from the factories, and just all the water generated to raise the first of all, rainforests are being destructed for the soy and the cattle grazing, and the soy is fed to the livestock. And then you have all the water raised for the grains to feed to the cows, and then the water for the cows, and just a lot of water used for processing and all meat production, and then the waste generated. Let's see, I think I lost track a little bit. When you asked me something, what was the original question?
Forget about it.
We are at the recall.
Yeah, I'm talking about meat and the epiphany you had. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I guess...
Oh, about compassion for the people involved with the atrocities.
Exactly. Okay, so I feel a little bit different sometimes with some of them. Like when I was at the protest at Rancho Veal, I went around to the back to see if I could, it was a reopening, it's now called Marin Sun Farms, like it's gonna be a much better slaughterhouse. And so I went around to the back, and there's a farmer back there, you could tell he was a slaughterhouse worker. And I think he expected me, being a protester, to be belligerent or something. But we're not like that. We're actually very kind people. And so I started talking to him, and I said, hey, I have an idea, can I film you? And he said, no, I'm not allowed to talk about anything. And I said, why do you do this? And he said, well, because I think meat tastes good. It's tasty. And I said, don't you see? Can't you see what you're doing now? And he said, no. And I said, and I left him and I said, I think that one day you might see that. Because I read a lot of books on it, and the books are amazing. That's a great way to find out about veganism, is through books. And a lot of farmers have changed, like Howard Lyman. He was a cattle rancher, and now he's like out there talking about veganism and changing the world. He was the one that got sued on the Oprah Winfrey Show by the cattlemen for speaking out. So yeah, and I just have a really lovely community of vegan friends, and yeah, it's very nice.
Have you come across any protesters that were like so adamant in the anger?
Not really. No. In fact, what happens is we're pretty saddened by the end of the day by, well, there's two aspects to it. There's the getting the word out, and there's a lot of people that listen, which is the positive side, and then you have the negative side of the people that don't like it. And so, but I've never been to a protest where people were mean of religion. Yeah. And people thought, like I took my kids, they're 15 and 18, down to LA to do a fur protest. And they expected it to be, some rowdy thing, and they were a little bit frightened. But it was just people standing on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and with signs, and a lot of people actually, and because we just passed a fur ban in the city of Hollywood, which was amazing. So they were quite amazed at how peaceful it was. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about who we are.
So when you say who we are,
I don't mean to separate us, but
no, but who's the we? Is it your intimate group of people that you work with?
There's all groups. I belong with so many organizations that do so many things, and Facebook has been just amazing on the connections of the internet. Has been amazing. I mean, it blows me away what you can do now, to connect with people. Like how we connected. Right. We haven't seen each other in years, and all of a sudden here we are sitting here talking about this. So I think we're very blessed to have such contemporary things to get the word out.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Communication
Yes.
is larger than it's ever been.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Have you studied any indigenous cultures where hunting is a part of their lifestyle?
I've studied shamanism. I've done a few workshops on it and stuff, and there was never that end of it brought up other than wearing animal skin. But I know that they praise the animal before it's eaten and stuff, but that was many years ago, and I think we're living in a modern society, and the plant-based foods that we have now, there's really no reason for us to be killing anymore. Even if, sometimes I can agree with hunters maybe killing for the food, but I just don't believe in killing anything, is my stance on the whole thing. Yeah.
This may seem trite,
Yeah.
but it's not meant to be. but I know
No,
it's often.
please
Okay.
do
All
say
right.
whatever you feel.
All right.
Yeah.
So that a blanket statement, like I don't believe in killing anything,
Mm-hmm.
and the plant is, well, I take that back. I was going to say the plant is killed in order to eat it, but you can definitely grow plant food where it's harvested and the plant still is alive and continues.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, plants are alive, but they are not sentient beings that have capability of feeling pain and suffering and family, and they don't have eyes, and they don't say, let's take a cow and its baby. When when the baby is ripped from the mother for milk, for humans, the cow wails for days because they have these immense feelings, and people think they're stupid, but they're actually very intelligent, and and the murdering of them is just horrific. It's nothing compared to pulling a plant out of the ground. Do you know what I mean?
I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
What comes to mind is I just finished a book
Oh, did you?
by Lynn Taggart. Have you heard of her?
I think I have.
She-
Is she spiritual writing?
Yeah, well, she approached the spiritual aspect of life from a scientific viewpoint.
Mm.
And in the book that I just finished, there were experiments where plants reacted to
Mm-hmm.
human interaction. And
Mhm.
if it was a positive interaction, there was a positive response. If it was a negative interaction, it was a negative response. And her premise is that everything's alive,
Yes.
and our thoughts
Mhm.
truly do interact with everything and create the positive or negative.
Yeah. I so believe in that. And raw foodist, you know what a raw foodist is?
Yes.
Okay. They believe in eating the plants alive as much as possible because of the enzymatic Curlian, what do you say, life to the plant, and adjusting that because it's really healthy for you to have the plant more, rather than having it sit in the refrigerator for 5 days. You want to eat it as fresh as possible. So, yeah. I think did I answer? your
Yeah,
question?
I'm wondering if it's possible,
Mhm.
like it seems like sort of a baseline of
Mhm.
belief is a reverence for life and an
Mhm.
honoring for all life.
Yes.
And again, my intention isn't to talk you into something or out of something.
Oh,
It's
no, I
more
don't feel
exploratory.
that, sure.
Okay.
No, I'm enjoying this.
Okay. So is it possible to hunt
Mm-hmm.
and even the experience of the hunt enhance all life? Can hunting actually enhance all life? And what comes to mind is looking at nature as as natural.
Mm-hmm.
And just as my experience with the salmon was a spiritual experience, I would say,
Mhm.
because I was in the experience, living the experience
Mhm.
of life, having taken
Mhm.
life, and now I'm taking from that.
Sure.
Do you think it's possible to hunt in a manner of reverence, of you know?
From what I see, I would say no. the hunters have gotten really belligerent and mean. You've got Sarah Palin, you've got Ted Nugent, I was going to say, who are blatantly, purposefully displaying the most cruel hunting methods I've ever seen. And the wolf hunters, oh my God, there's an article in the San Francisco Examiner that said they get off on it sexually by killing these wolves. And it was true, and they actually admitted it. So we have a very sick society, unfortunately, that doesn't know the real way of the Indian way of hunting, perhaps. Do you know what I'm saying? The
Yes.
sacred
Right.
way. It's gone overboard. So where that group of hunters is, I don't know. I have never heard of a nice group of hunters lately. So I would have to say that all meat is murder. Unfortunately.
Well, or fortunately,
Yeah.
you know, the empowerment of that statement.
Yeah.
Like the things that I pick out from what you're saying is
Mhm.
how you say like our society is sick, and our
Well, not all of us, but from what I see on Facebook, I mean, I just posted someone yesterday, some Asian country, and she was driving by and she sees a dog tied up to a leash and takes her gun out, and the dog is going back and forth on the leash trying to avoid her gunshot while she shoots it. I mean, that's the mentality today. And then there's the crush videos, you know about those, right?
Okay.
They
Not,
take puppies and kittens, and these sadistic sexual people take their high heels and crush the animal for sexual,
that's sick.
yeah.
That is a sign
Yeah,
of
I see
sickness.
so much, it's unbelievable.
All right, so how do you retain your hope?
Well, I just have to keep going and spreading the word. That's how I do it, and I have to kind of learn to let go of things that I see. The dairy video the other day was the worst. I mean, dairy is huge, and just they take the babies from the mother, they throw them in the veal crates, and it showed the workers slamming and kicking the baby cows, and the baby cows have these big eyes. And we're so sad, and they're like shoving them in the thing to force them to eat. Never seen such cruelty. Just, I don't know. Sometimes I can't sleep, actually. But other times I just keep moving on and sharing different stories so I can move out of that one. But yeah, it's important to get the word out so people know what's going on and to make change. All you have to do is sign a petition. Petitions work so well. So easy to do. So many different things you can do. I have meetups here at the house that shares raw vegan food and shows you different things to do. And I do fundraisers here for PETA and different organizations. And have Pinterest, Twitter.
All the social media.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm always out there talking to people wherever I go. Yeah.
Are your children vegans?
My children are I would say they're 80% vegan because I cook vegan here and they're not allowed to bring the dairy in unless my husband sneaks it in here. And but they eat vegetarian outside of the house. There's, it's sad, but there's peer pressure on children. even my kids. But the good thing about my kids is they won't buy leather, and she doesn't buy anything they both don't buy anything tested on animals. And she does projects at school about it. So I feel pretty happy about that.
But you have the support of your whole family.
Well, Fritz, he's been a tough one to crack, and all I can do is provide a nice vegan meal at night, and I take him to speakers, and the last speaker kind of got to him, and so he's been trying really hard to be more vegan, and his brother went vegan, which is unbelievable. And if his brother can go vegan, he can easily. So I think he's really trying now, which is amazing. He's vegetarian. Yeah.
Was your father alive when you decided to be a vegetarian?
Oh, yes.
Sounds like there's some stories there.
Yeah, he was alive, and I'd bring over my slaughterhouse videos for him to watch to show him, why are you eating this? But I don't think it worked. But he was suffering from liver cancer and stuff. So.
At the time when you became a vegetarian, he was suffering?
No, not at that time, but during the time I was trying to get him to change his diet. And people don't realize, even eating grass-fed beef, that the number one killer is heart disease and cancer, and it's caused from meat eating. It doesn't matter if your food is grass-fed or not. Yeah, so.
It's a bit uplifting.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to sound like that.
Nothing to apologize for.
I guess I got on a roll. I'm sorry.
Nothing to apologize for. I mean, truly, the media is out there to show the horrific practices that exist. And it's a reality.
Yeah.
And what we do with that reality is each individual's choice.
Sure.
Right. I gotta say, I don't expect to walk out the door with a changed diet, but there's food for thought, pardon the pun.
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to. Well, I was hoping, maybe.
You never know.
You never know. So, yeah.
So, it's a bit off topic, but it sounds like in the presence of these atrocities, which you open yourself to every day. Like you said, you saw the video of the cows, etc., etc. It's your action that helps keep you positive.
Yes. Keeps me moving.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down next to a girl at a cafe eating a ham and cheese sandwich. I thought, oh no. I had already sat down and I wasn't in a great mood because of something happened that day. And I thought, okay, I should get up and move. And then I thought, you know what? It was the day I watched that dairy video. It got me all pumped up. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to move. So I somehow, you have to be very careful. It's not easy to come up to people and just say, you got to stop eating meat. So I have these flyers and it says go vegan, and it shows all the stuff in the pamphlet. So I kind of slid it over to her, and she's probably 12 years old.
Get them while they're young.
The mother was sitting there too.
Oh.
And so she looked at it. She said, what's this for? And I said, well, it's just some information for you. I just wanted to share it with you. And then she and then she was quiet, and she was just kind of turning her back to me while she was eating. And then, so later I gave her some time, and I said, so I was just curious, what did you think about that brochure I handed you? And she said, well, I really love animals, but I love the taste of meat. I said, you know what, thank you for telling me that, because I'm just curious. I hand these out, and I have no clue what people are thinking. So I thanked her for being honest and stuff. So.
That sounds really healthy. And I think also with this life, there's an element of there's an opportunity to reconsider.
Mm-hmm.
And if your actions can be that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's some information. It's an opportunity to consider this information.
Mm-hmm.
And then what comes of that? You kind of let go of the outcome of it.
Right.
But you've brought that opportunity to the consciousness.
Mm-hmm. So how do you, what is your take on being compassionate yet eating meat? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, for one, that experience with the salmon
Mm-hmm.
was the word that comes to mind, I don't know if it's appropriate, is visceral.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have that experience. Now, the huge difference in that is I was the process.
Mm-hmm.
I knew how I was catching this fish.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an element of trust when I go into a market
Mm-hmm.
that the life is taken in a compassionate manner. And I think there's a lot of unconsciousness on my part because I kind of hear that it is,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not doing any research to where it's coming from.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring up Ted Nugent because a lot of who he is and what he says,
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with. It just rubs me the wrong way. But one thing, from what I know, from what I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
is he's said his body is a temple, and he knows where his meat's coming from because he actually goes and gets it. He
Mhm.
hunts it, and that's the only way he partakes in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he's a trophy hunter, and I mean that like maybe he is or maybe he isn't.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he is.
So I, from what I've seen, he
Yeah.
isn't,
Yeah.
but I don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last story talking about indigenous tribes,
Mhm.
and this came from Liz, she told me this,
Mm-hmm.
was that she read that this tribe, when they would hunt,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of ceremony leading up to the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Then the actual hunt, I'm probably going to butcher this story. Again, sorry for
No,
that pun.
please.
But,
You're fine.
but they would run with the pack that they were hunting, like if it was deer, and they would run like for 4 days potentially,
Wow.
and kind of become one with the animals like they were going to take.
Uh-huh.
And there was in essence, an asking for permission,
Mhm.
permission granted, and then reverence afterward.
You know, that's very interesting that you said that because I just went to a fire walk. Do you know where
Yes.
I walk on fire? And this woman got into a debate with me about the thing. And she said, well, you know, I have this farmer and he treats his animals really well, and then he asks it to kill it, and he lovingly asks it, and then he takes the life and he eats it lovingly. I said, well, let's see. So how about I ask you to take your life and I murder you, stab you, and then I eat you because you have meat, right? Would that, how does that differ? Because you're not able to really speak and tell me, like the animal can't speak and say, yes, you're giving me permission to take your life. You know what I mean?
I do. And so my thought with that is that I believe there is a potential for all life to communicate with all life.
Mm-hmm.
So one truly can communicate with an animal, and there be a true communication.
I'd like to go with the Indians and see what they do.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
It would give me a new insight into it.
Well,
I'm not saying I would ever eat meat or kill anything. It wouldn't do anything for me that way, but be interesting. Because I like to look at all perspectives,
right.
you know?
And like I think when you talked about the shamanism and their wearing of animals, I think that was a part of their process of the whole animals used.
Right.
You know, besides the spirit of the animal being embodied and imbibed by the wearing of that skin, but also from what little research I have on my own, their practice was to use the whole animal.
Right.
It wasn't just, and that was one of the big differences when the white man came, is, you know, they'd slaughter
The
buffalo.
white man came and just blew it all, didn't they?
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah.
And we keep doing it. It's awful.
Right. And that I think is what's important to me. Like, to answer your question about how do I rectify a reverence for life with my meat eating. I know.
How do you do that?
Well, like, 'cause you asked how I do it, and I think part of it is unconsciousness.
Unconscious.
Unconsciousness.
You don't realize what you're doing.
Well, I'm right. I'm not thinking about where did this come from.
Until today.
Well, it crosses my mind, but I think it's similar, like what comes to mind is driving a car. The actual impact on the environment of driving the car or flying in an airplane.
Okay, good point. But I have news for you. Eating meat is more environmentally damaged than driving a hybrid car.
What about a regular car?
Well, that's even worse.
No, but I mean, because you just said eating meat is more environmentally damaging than driving a hybrid car.
Well, I meant any car.
Any car.
Yeah,
Right.
they proved that. The CO2s.
Yeah.
There's some great movies out that you should see. Oh, I'm having an event here on May 18th. You should come.
All right.
It's a raw potluck with nutritional talk. She's really great. And your wife and mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything more that you'd like to bring up that hasn't been touched upon?
Let's see. Well, okay, the meat recall would send me vegan right away. All that meat wasted, and eye cow disease is why they had to pull it out. And I don't know, it's just so much cruelty, and I just wish that everybody could see what we see. That's all. And I know, it didn't happen to me that way. I'd have no judgment that you eat meat, because I used to eat meat. And I just think it's a time, and something clicks on people. It's very strange how it happens. Like all of a sudden, like my friend, he's an artist in Palm Springs, and he has this really cute, I think it's a French bull, and he looked into its eyes one day, and he just realized, I'm eating basically the same thing, you know, because other cultures eat dogs, right? So, and he just right away quit. So people have epiphanies and just quit and keep it up. Maybe one day that'll happen to you.
Do you have any really close friends that you would say are soulmates that are meat eaters?
That are meat eaters. I think I've been so entwined with my family life lately. I have meat eater friends, yes, and I like Brad Black, do you know Brad Black?
Yeah.
From Greenland. And yeah, I go out with people that eat meat, and they're very nice to me. They actually cater to me. They're like, oh, she has that vegan, and so I get along with everyone. It's important to me, and I like being around people. So I think being compassionate is a very important aspect to it, and as you brought up. I hope this wasn't boring for you people.
Oh, who cares about that?
Well, no, I hope you learned something anyway, right?
Yes.
Not you, but them.
Well, all
All
of
of
us.
us, yeah.
Just like that to me is sort of the bottom line, because when two people or more get to a point where there's no movability, you know, it's like I am this, you are that.
Yeah.
Then what do we do? There's
Exactly.
nothing to do.
No, it doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's nothing that comes to mind
Mm-hmm.
that you'd like to talk about or mention, then I have one more question.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
But do you have anything?
Oh, do I have anything? I thought you said. Let me look at my notes. Okay. So we all know tweeting, Facebook, joining an animal rights group, meetups, lobbying elected officials, quotes.
Well, that was a question I had for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray. How are you?
So what
You
is
said
it?
that petitions actually have a big
Oh,
impact.
big impact.
And you know that from experience?
I know that from experience that they've worked, yes. All people have to do is sign a petition. It's so easy. I mean, people worry, oh God, the government's going to fine me. You know what? So what? I mean, what are you doing wrong? You're signing a damn piece of paper?
Yes.
I've been doing it for years.
And you have experience that, because there's a part of me that hears that and goes, oh, come on, petitions? Really?
Yeah, no, really. They're very effective.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I've done a lot of stuff with that.
Does anything come to mind where you know a change has happened because of the signatures involved?
Well, there's been so many victories from them, I can't keep up with them, actually. Seriously.
I believe it. Does any one come to mind?
Let's see. The orca bill that just came out for the SeaWorld orcas.
Right.
We had, I can't remember how many, but millions of signatures for California. But the only problem was the lobbyists paid from SeaWorld. So we have another year to wait to see if we're going to win that. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And just so many I can't even think right now, actually.
Is there anything else that?
I'm just so happy to be here with you.
Well, thank you.
Oh my God, you're such a beautiful, compassionate person and so nice.
Part of you.
I haven't seen you in so long.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so
Yeah.
nice to connect again.
Well, thank you. And I was really touched that you reached out and said, hey, I'll do this.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's pretty brave. Considering the first one that went out to the world.
Yeah.
It was really
I hope
nice.
it turned out okay.
I'm sure it did. And my last thing that I was going to bring up
Mm-hmm.
is if you have a post office box
Mm-hmm.
or an appropriate way for people to contact you if they want more information.
Well, I have a Facebook page. It's called Vegan Green Planet. And that's where I do all my posting, and I have a lot of information on there. And I'm trying to keep up with my blog, which is the same name, but with the recipes, but I'm having a really hard time keeping up with that. But yeah, so Vegan Green Planet on Facebook, and what else? Yeah. And the same email, if you want to email me, vegangreenplanet@gmail.com.
All right.
And I think that was it. And I have some recommended reading. Not the yoga books, but Becoming Vegan. It has excellent nutrition. If you ever want to read about nutrition. The China Study, excellent. Oh my God, excellent. Just load up on vegan books and you'll learn so much. And then here's a 21-day cleanse. I don't know if you and Liz would want that one, but I have some for you to choose from.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what about, who's the author of the book that you read that you said?
Oh, John Robbins. He's
It
my
is John.
hero.
Okay.
He's an amazing, beautiful, compassionate spirit. You would love him.
All right.
Maybe you can do his interview next.
All right, Karenna, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm just so very blessed to be here with you. You have no idea. And I'm so glad that I wasn't too nervous.
Well, yeah, thank you, because I truly am honored by this as well. So
Aw,
thank you very much.
thank you.
For you, not me.
It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful